So starting with the prayer, opening prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. So we are reading the Ashtavakra Samhita. Just a minute, let me share the slides. Right. So there are 20 chapters. We are now on the chapter 18, the Jivan Mukti. It has 100 slokas, and we have come across the first 50 sloka. Today we'll start from sloka number 51. So I am starting with sloka number 51. Akatrim bhaktribat satvana manvati yada tadakshina bhavanteva shamaschitta brittayat. All the modifications of the mind become destroyed when a man realizes that that he himself is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. When etc., because it is such feelings as I shall do this, I shall enjoy that, that give rise to the modification of mind. Sloka 52. Uchrinkhalapakritika sthiti dhrirasya rajate natu sampriha chittasya shantir murasya kritima. That is the conduct of the wise one through unrestrained and inartificial shines, but not the affected calmness of the fool whose mind is attached. Sloka 53. Bilasanti mahavagair vishanti giri gavharan nirasta kalpana dhira abadha mukta buddhaya. The wise who are free from imagination, unbound, and of unfettered intellect sometimes sport in the midst of the great enjoyments and sometimes retire into mountain caves. Unjittered, that is by egoism, the wise one remains the same and unaffected in whatever condition he may be. Sloka 54. Srotriyang devatang tirthamanganang bhupating priyama Vrishta sampujya dhirasya na kapi ridhi vashana. Not desire whatsoever springs in the heart of the wise one on seeing or honoring a man versed in sacred learning, a god, a holy place, a woman, a king, or a beloved one. Sloka 54. Srotriyang devotang tirthamanganang bhupating priyama Drishta sampujya dhirasya na kapi ridi vashana. So we have come across this and now we'll study Sloka 55. Sloka 55. Bhrittang putrang kalutrishang dauhitrishchapi gotrajeng bihasya dhikrito jogi na jati bikritang manaka. The yogi is not at all perturbed even when ridiculed and despised by his servants, son, wives, daughters, sons, and relations. That is because he is completely free from the aversion that perturb the mind. Sloka 56. Shantushti hoti na shantushtang khinna hapi na chakhiddate tascharja dashang tang tang tadvishya eva janate. That is, those pleased, he is not pleased. Though pained, he doesn't suffer any pain. Only those like him understand his wonderful state. Though, etc., pleasure and pain are the different modifications of the mind from which the self is completely detached. The man of knowledge, therefore, though outwardly appearing to feel pleasure and pain, is not at all affected by them. Only, etc., because his external behavior is not so different from that of the ordinary people. Sloka 57. Kartabbhataiva samsara na tang pashyanti shurayang shunnakara nirakara nirvikara niramaya. The sense of duty, indeed, is the world of relativity. It is transcended by the wise who are on the form of the void, formless, immutable, and untainted. It is from attachment to the worldly objects that the sense of duty arises and binds us more and more to the world, and thus subjects us to the rounds of the births and rebirths. Sloka 58. অকুর্বন্নপি শঙ্খভাদ ব্যগ্রং সর্বত্র মুরোধিং কুর্বন্নপি তু কৃত্যানি কুশল হি নিরাকুল. One of the dull intellect, even without doing anything, is ever agitated by distraction, but the skillful one, even doing his duties, is verily unperturbed. Unperturbed because his mind is ever calm and tranquil, owing to the absence of any egoistic feeling, even in the midst of the activities. Sloka 59. Shukhamaste shukhang shete shukhamayati yati cha Shukhang vakting shukhang bhunkte ব্যবহারেপি shantadhi. The ignominious in practical life as well as the wise one sits happily, sleeps happily, moves happily, speaks happily, and eats happily. Sloka 60. স্বভাবদ্দস্য নৈবর্তিলোকর্বদ ব্যবহারিণা মহাহৃদ ইবাক্ষব গতক্লেশ সুশোভতে. He, even in practical life, does not, owing to his self-possession, feel distress like ordinary people, remains unagitated like a vast lake with all his sorrows gone. Sloka 61. Nibritarapi murasya pravrittirupa jayate pravrittarapi dhirasya nibritta phala vagini. That is, even the inaction of the deluded one becomes action, and even the action of wise one results in the fruit of inaction, even etc., because the deluded one, though outwardly inactive, is inwardly most active. Because the wise one, uh, though he may be outwardly active, is inwardly completely inactive, in as much as he is not identified with his body and senses. Sloka 62. Parigraheshu vairagyang prayo murasya drishyate dehe vigalita shashyaka ragakka viragata. The deluded one often shows aversion to his positions. He whose love for the body has vanished has neither attachment nor aversion. Deluded who identifies himself with his body and is therefore attached to it. Possession, which are the necessary concomitants of attachment for the body, he, etc., because both attachment and aversion are born of the body idea. Sloka 63. ভাবনা ভাবনা শক্তা দৃষ্টি মূরস্য সর্বদা ভাব্য ভাবনায় সাতু শস্যস্যা দৃষ্টি রূপিণী. The consciousness of the deluded one is always attached to thinking and not thinking, but that of the wise one, though attended with thinking of the thinkables, is of the nature of unconsciousness. Always, etc., because he identifies himself with the mind, the instrument of thinking, and thinks of the objects as real. Of, etc., because the wise one is free from egoism and knows the objects to be unreal, his consciousness is free from such dualities as things known and acts of knowing. He is established in pure consciousness, the self. Sloka 64. Sharvarambheshu nishkama jaschareda valavanamuni na lipastushu shuddhushu kriyo manehapi karmani. The sage who moves like a child without motive in all his observances and is pure has no attachment even to what that is being done by him. Sloka 65. सा एव धन्यम् अत्यगं सर्वभावेषु यः क्षमा पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृश्यन् जिघ्रन् अस्नन्निस्तस्यर्मानुषो. Blessed indeed is that knower of self who is, even though seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, or eating, is free from interest and is the same in all conditions. Sloka 66. Kah sangsarang kah chavashang kah shaddhang kah cha sadhanam akasheva dhirasya nirvikalpasya sarvada. That is, where is the reflected self? Where is the world? Where is the end? And where is the means for it for the wise one who is ever changeless like the sky? Where, etc. For the realization of the self as the infinite one negates the existence of everything else. Reflected self, the finite individual self, is the reflection of the self in the mind. Sloka 67. स जयतथ संनाशी पूर्ण सरस्व विग्रह अकृत्रिमोहन विच्छन्ने समाधिज्यस्य वर्तते. Glorious is he who is free from all desires and is embodiment of infinite bliss, which is his own nature. He who has attained natural samadhi in the unconditioned. Natural, not produced as a result of any act. There is not even the effort to renounce as everything is Brahma. Unconditioned, the absolute self, which is beyond all limitations. Sloka 68. बहुनात्र किमुक्तेन ज्ञात तत्व महाशया वगमक्ख निराकांक्षी सदा सर्वत्र नीरस. That is, in short, the great-souled man who has realized the truth is free from the desire of enjoyment and liberation and is devoid of all attachment at all times and in all places. Liberation, he is free from the desire of the liberation because he knows the self to be free by nature. Sloka 69. महदादि जगद्दैत्यं नममत्र विजृतम विहाय शुद्धबोधस्य किं कृत्यमवशिष्यते. What remains to be done by one who is pure intelligence, one who has renounced the phenomenal existence beginning with Mahat, which is manifested through mere name, phenomenal, etc. The Shankha philosophy holds that Prakriti, the undifferentiated, is the primal cause of this universe. Out of Prakriti evolves Mahat, that is cosmic intelligence, from which Ahankara or egoism proceeds. From that again mind, five organs of senses, five organs of actions, and five tanmatras, that is fine elements, arise, and the five tanmatras produce five mahabhutas, that is gross elements, which make up this gross material universe. According to the Shankha system, the universe is real, but according to the Advaita Vedanta, it is unreal and illusory, existing only in the name and form, being superimposed on the self, which is indivisible, infinite one. Sloka 70. Brahmabhutamidang sarvadang kinchinastiti nishchayi alakha sfurana shuddhang shabhave naiva shammati. The pure one who has known for certain that all this is the product of the illusion and nothing exists to whom the inexpressible is expressed, naturally enjoys the peace. Pure, free from ignorance, inexpressible, the self is beyond mind and speech, it cannot be objectified. The knower cannot be known, but it is self-luminous as it is consciousness itself. Sloka 71. Shuddha sfurana rupasya drishya bhavama pashyata ka viddhi ka cha vairagya ka tyaga ka shamaha piva. Rule of conduct, dispassion, renunciation, and restraint of the senses. What are they to one who is of nature of pure intelligence and who does not perceive any objective reality? Rule, rule of conduct, dispassion, etc. are meaningless beyond relative existence, which is non-real to man of self-knowledge. Sloka 72. स्फुरतो हननतो रूपेण प्रकृतिं च न पश्यतो क बंध च वा मक्खं क हर्ष क विषादिता. Where is bondage on liberation, joy or sorrow for one who shines as the infinite and does not perceive the relative existence? Sloka 73. बुद्धि पर्यंत संसारे माया मात्रं विवर्तते निर्ममो निरहंकार निष्कामो शभते बुद्ध. In the world existing until self-realization, only Maya prevails. The wise one lives without the feelings of I-ness, mindness, and attachment. Sloka 74. Akhyang gato shantapo mattanang pashyuttamuning kag viddacha kabba vishanka dehahang mametiva. The sage who perceives the self as imperishable and sorrowless, what is knowledge, what is the universe, or what are the feelings of I am the body and the body is mine? Sloka 75. Niradhodini karmani jahati jaradhijyati manorathana pralapangshacha kurtumapnoto tatkhanat. No sooner does the man of the dull intellect give off the practices of mind control, etc., than he becomes a prey to desires and fantasies. It has been repeatedly said that the man of self knowledge is completely devoid of dual consciousness and consequently of all efforts at control of the senses, which are but the product of the ignorance. The idea contained herein is that for the ignorant person also, persisting as he does in the dual vision, practices of control are of little avail, since as soon as there is lapse in his practices, he is dragged down to the mire of desires. You can compare with the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, sloka 33 and 34. The implication is that self knowledge is not a thing to be attained, it already is. Practices of control, therefore, are meaningless. Sloka 76. Mandang srutavapi tadvastu na jahati bimuratam nirvikalpa vahirjatna dantar vishaya lalasya. The man of dull intellect, even hearing the truth, does not give off his delusion, though appearing devoid of mental activity through effort, he has a craving for sense object lurking within man, etc. Because delusion vanishes only with the self-knowledge, though because desire can be got rid of only by self-knowledge and not by suppression compared with Gita chapter 2 sloka 59. Sloka 77. ज्ञानोद गृहित कर्मा जो लोको दृष्टापि कर्मकृत naprotashvasharang katring vaktumevo na kinchane. That is, he whose works has stopped with the dawn of knowledge does not find any opportunity to do or say anything, even if he be doing work in the eyes of the people. Look 78. Kattamaka prakasho vahanam kachana kinchana nirvikarasya dhirasya niratankasya sarvada. For the wise one who is ever immutable and fearless, there is no darkness, no light, no relinquishment, nothing whatsoever. There, etc., darkness and light are possible only in the domain of duality, but not where there is but one, the self. Sloka 79. Kadhajjang ka vivekidvang kat niratank tapiva anirtyang shabhavasya nishabhavasya jagina. What is steadiness? What is discrimination? Or what is fearlessness to the yogi who is impersonal and of indescribable nature? Sloka 90. Na shargang naiva naraka jivan muktin chaivahi bahunatra kimuktena jagadrishta na kinchana. There is no heaven, no hell, not even liberation in life. In short, nothing exists in yogic consciousness. Sloka 81. Naiva prarthate labhang lalavinanu धीरस्य शीतलं चित्तममृतनैव पूरितम्. The wise one neither longs nor gains nor grieves at non-attainment. His cool mind is verily filled with nectar, nectar of immortal bliss. Sloka 82. Na shantam stauti nishkamo na dushtumopi nindati shama dukkho shukho striptam kinchit kritta na pashyati. Desireless one praises not the gentle nor blames even the wicked. Contented and same in happiness and misery, he finds nothing to be done. Sloka 83. Dhirana deshti samsara mattanang na didrikshati harsha marsha vinidmuktang na mrita na cha jivati. The wise one neither abhors birth and rebirth nor wishes to perceive that self. Free from joy and sorrow, he is neither dead nor alive. Neither that etc. The necessity of the liberation is consequent upon the idea of metapsychosis. Being the self already, the man of self-knowledge has neither metapsychosis nor liberation. He therefore does not shrink from one or desires the other. Neither etc. Life and death imply the change, the self being changeless and eternal. The man of self-knowledge has neither. Sloka 84. निस्नेह पुत्र दारादो निष्कामो विषयेषु च निश्चिंत शरीर हेपि निराश शभते बुधा. The glorious is the life of the wise one who is free from expectations, free from attachment for children, wife, and others, free from desire for the objects of the senses, and free from care even of his own body. Sloka 85. Trishting Sharvatra Dhirasya Jatha Patita Vartinang Shachanda Charata Deshana Jatra Smriti Shayina. The contentment ever dwells in the heart of the wise one who lives on whatever comes to him and wanders about at pleasure, resting wherever the sun sets. Sloka 86. Patatu detu ba deho nasha chinta mahatvanang shabhavo bhumi visranti visrita shesha sansrite. Reposing on the foundation of his own being and forgetting the entire cycle of birth and rebirth, the great souled person cares not whether his body dies or is born. Reposing, etc., the body, mind, and the entire world are superimposed on the self. Changes in the former, therefore, do not affect the man of self-knowledge. Compares Gita chapter 2, Sloka 13 and 18. Sloka 87. Akinchana kamachara nirdandaschi shangshayang ashaktang sarva bhaveshu kevala ramote buddha. Blessed is the wise one who stands by himself, who is attached to nothing, who is without any possession, who moves freely, who is free from pairs of opposites, and whose doubts have been rent asunder, right, etc. That is aloof as witness, without the self being one, without a second. The man of knowledge has nothing else to possess. Sloka 88. Nirmamang shavate dhirang shamalostasma kanchanang Shuvinna Ridaya Ganthir Vinirvita Rajastama. That is, the glorious is the wise one who is devoid of mindness, to whom art, stone, or gold is the same, the knots of whose heart have been rent asunder, and who has been purged of Rajasa and Tamasa. Purged, that is Satya, Rajas, Tamas are the three constituents of the Prakriti. The whole of internal and external nature is composed of them. Sattva is the principle of knowledge and delight. Rajas is the principle of motivity and pain. Tamas is the principle of inertia and ignorance. When Rajasa and Tamasa prevail in the mind, it cannot perceive the true nature of self. Sattva alone can reflect the self-effulgent Atma. So the mind must be purged of Rajasa and Tamasa before the glory of Atma may manifest. Shloka 89. Sarvottanavadanasya na kinchida vasuna ridhi muktattana pitriptasya tulona kena jayate. That is, who is there to stand comparison with the liberated soul, who has no desire whatsoever at heart, who is contented and indifferent to everything. Sloka 90. Sorry. Gyanannapi na janati pashannapi na pashyati bruvanna api na cha brutte kahunang nirvashana dhrite. That is, who but the desireless one knows not even knowing, sees not even seeing, and speaks not even speaking. Sloka 91. Vikhurva bhupitarivapi ja nishkamo shashobhate bhaveshu galita jasya shavana mati. Be he is mendicant or a king, he excels, who is unattached and whose view of things has been free from the sense of good and evil. Because he finds the same Atva existing in all good and evil. Sloka 92. Kacha Shachandashka Shankaja Kakta Tatta Vinishchaya Nirvajjarja Bhutasya Charitarthasya Jogina. What is one-toneness? What is restraint, or what is determination of truth for the yogi whose life's object has been fulfilled and who is embodiment of guiltless sincerity? What, etc. The idea of agency and purposiveness determines one's ethical conduct. Being established in the self, the one without a second, the yogi is devoid of both. His actions, therefore, transcend all ethical implication. What determination of truth is the no value when it stands self-revealed as one's Atma. Sloka 93. Vishranti tripteno nirashena gatartina antarjana bhutayo tat kathang kashyakathate. How and to whom can be described what is experienced within by one who is desireless, whose sorrow is destroyed, and who is contented with repose in the self? How, etc.? Because the self is beyond mind and speech. Sloka 94. Shuptapi na shurshapto cha shapnehapi shahita na cha jagarehapi na jagarti dhirastripta pade pade. That is, not sleep even in sound sleep, not lying even in dream, and not awake even in waking state, is the wise one who is contented under all condition. Now, Sloka 95. Ja Shakinta Hopi Nischintang Sendri Hopi Nirindraya Shubidbirapi Nirbuddhing Shahankara Rahana Hankriti. That is, the man of knowledge is devoid of thought even when engaged in thought, devoid of sense organs even though possessed of them, devoid of intelligence even though endowed with it, and devoid of sense of ego, even though possessed of it. Sloka 96. Na shukhi na chava dukhi na virakta na shangavana na mumurkhana va muktana kinchina na kinchana. He is neither happy nor miserable, neither attached nor unattached, neither liberated nor an aspirant for liberation, neither this nor that. Sloka 97. Vikkhipehapi na vikkhiptang samadhang na samadhiman jaddehapi na jadadhanang pandittehapi na pandita. The blessed one is not distracted even in distraction, is not meditative even in meditation, is not dull even in a state of dullness, and is not learned even though possessed of learning. Sloka 98. Mutta jathasti satsang krita kartabya nibritang shama sarvatra vitrishanang sharatta kritam kritam. The liberated one who rests in the self under all conditions, who is free from the idea of action and of duty, and who is the same everywhere, does not, owing to desirelessness, reflect upon what he has not done. Sloka 99. Na priyate bandamana nindamana na kuppati naibaddi jati marane jivane navinandati. Praised he does not feel pleased, and blamed he does not get annoyed. He neither rejoices in life nor fears death. Sloka 100. Na dhavoti janar kinang narannamupa shantodhi jatha tatha jatra tatra shamo eva padishtate. The tranquil-minded one runs neither after the crowded place nor after the wilderness. He remains the same in any condition and in any place whatsoever. So that ends the Jivan Mukti, chapter 18 of Ashtavakra Samhita. The session is now open for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjindra. I think your rendition made it more pleasant and more intellectually stimulating, actually. Thank you very much. It was, yeah, it was musical and it was lyrical, as well as the interest was generated, continued to sustain, actually. That was the rendition. Yeah. And I think every one of you agree. So, I mean, one thing that came to my mind of all this is that you should not have any desires for anything. So that is one, the gist of Jivan Mukti. But I mean, this is a higher, like I think previously Dr. Abeda said, this is a higher level of knowledge. Right. Probably we were reading about Gita, which is mainly focuses on the Karma Yoga. So that is, you need to do your responsibilities. Right. And here he says that you have to aspire for higher things. So what thought came to my mind, the first thing is that now suppose we are taking care of elderly people who feel that they have retired and they have no other purpose in life per se, and they don't wish to live as well. So mainly in palliative care or long-term stay care patients in elderly. I mean, when they have this knowledge of this chapter, actually, I mean, I'm sure that it will help them a lot in understanding their pain. It will help them in probably understanding their distress. It will help them understand and then go beyond what is called as suffering, or go beyond the desires as well. Yes. Yes, Abeda.
Yeah, you have summarized it in a few words. And Ranjan's lyrical description of this, what is the ultimate aim, Jivan Mukta state. We are alive, but we are not totally involved with it. Our being is existence with identification with the self. Everything else will then be fleeting, passing. The man realizes he is neither a doer nor an enjoyer. Wise one is unbound and unfettered. No desire in his heart in any situation. That is a very ideal state. The yogi is not perturbed when he is ridiculed, despised by, as they say, the sons, servants and all, and free from aversions. It's very beautiful. Though pleased, he is not pleased. Though praised, he is not feeling praise. Wise is only immersed in the self, which is formless, immutable and untainted. But the one of dull intellect, not just IQ, I would say, but one who is involved in the worldly things, he is perturbed. Even doing good things also, he has some attachment. But the ideal yogi is equanimous in practical life. Life is, as they described, in like a lake with all sorrows gone. Inaction and of the deluded one here has no action of the wise one, is almost like a form of inaction. And this beautiful description, one who has transcended the body is free from it and free from attachment. Consciousness of the wise one is like the nature of unconsciousness. He is immersed in the pure consciousness, that is the self. The sage moves like a child. He has no attachment and he is very innocent. Realization of the self, of infinite me, negates everything else. And there are verses in celebration of the glorious one who has realized the infinite self, the so-called samadhi state, living and again non-living. The great soul one who has realized the self is free from all desires. Then there is a description of Prakriti, the primal universe, and the Mahats and five senses, giving rise to Ahankara, egoism. And the pure mind realizes all this is a product of illusion, Maya or Samsara. But probably the Samsara ceases to exist when we are devoid of all Maya. Probably Maya is necessary for the world to exist, or it ceases in our consciousness at least. Sage is self imperishable and sorrowless, and the yogi is pure consciousness. There is no heaven for him, no hell, not even liberation in life. Wise man's mind is filled with the nectar of pure consciousness and realization of the self. And Dr. Naresh, yes, last time you described probably the ideal yogi, Krishna, who was unperturbed even in sorrow, even when he's enjoying himself. He left Vrindavan, went to Mathura and did not look one because he was unattached. And I would think the ideal Adi yogi, Shiva. Shiva is unattached to anything. He has all power, but he lives like ascetic, wearing the tiger skin. And he took all the sorrows, so to say. He take the poison of the ocean and just he is cool. That would be the ideal yogic state, the Adi yogi, Lord Shiva. Wise man is unattached, and Vishwarup Darshan shows in the Gita that the time or Mahakal swallows everything. All the riches, all the power is gone. And the ideal state would be the elimination of the Rajasa and Tamasa element, only the realization of Shakti. And I think I should leave at this stage and allow others to give their views. These are all idealistic states, but we are striving towards it. And even partial realization giving us bliss. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to hear from others, their teachings, their minds.
Dr. Kuldeep Kaul has raised his hand. Kuldeep ji, you can speak. Kuldeep ji? No, okay. Anyone else can. Dr. Shanku? Dr. Adi?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes, yes.
Sir, but today we nicely heard the tranquility, the measures to attain tranquility of mind and the difference of mind between wise man and deluded person. And the role of three gunas, Satya, Rajak, and Tamas, how they develop, and what are the impacts on the one of these three gunas on development of tranquility on mind, and uh, role role of unattachment and steadfastness is stressed in multiple times, and they are the I think they are the principal ways, principal means to achieve the tranquility of mind. That's all from my end, sir.
Yes, anyone? Dr. Swati, Dr. Rita is there. Dr. Ranjan Bhai, you also want to talk anything?
Yeah, I can, but let others speak if anybody.
No one else is there.
Ranjan, bolo.
Okay, fine.
Bolo, Ranjit, bolo.
Yeah. So in the Jivan Mukta, the basic concept is that except the self, everything else is the imagination. So everything in imagination except self, which is ever free and eternal. You can just compare the famous quote that if ignorance is the bliss, why should we seek the knowledge? Similarly, when a courageous person has known this, why should he do sadhana or repeated practice like a child? But a sadhana is done either to get something which is not within us, or to prevent some object that is coming, that is hindering our day-to-day activity. As Atma is an accomplished person, accomplished one thing which is already within us, Atta is an where is the question that why you should then do the sadhana like a child. So this is the question that by the liberation, by the path of the learning and knowledge, a Gyani gets the knowledge, and he or she then acquires this. After acquiring this knowledge, feels the happiness, the joyness of the living. So the Atma is the same as the Brahma, and the rest is all illusory, deluded, and imaginary, as Shankar has rightly pointed out. So there are lots of versions and lots of explanations you can go with, but this 100 slokas of the chapter 18 of Jivan Mukta of Ashtavakra Gita is the most learning aspect of this entire 285 slokas. You can imagine the maximum number of sloka by that is Ashtavakra Uvacha in this part has given the all explanation of this deluded world and the path of moksha and the liberation. And all the things of the scriptures have been beautifully summarized in just in these 100 slokas. So that is all from my end. And I think the time is also running out. If anybody would like to say anything, otherwise we will have to close the session.
Just one word, last word.
Yeah.
I mean, Ashtavakra says this to King Janaka. He teaches this kind of, the treatise to King Janaka. King Janaka has already achieved over a period of years. He is the ideal king. He is a karma yogi as well. And after karma yogi, he comes and asks Ashtavakra, what else should I achieve? Right. Then Ashtavakra says that the Jivan Mukta state and all these kinds of things as well.
Right.
I think if that context is, we know that context, then we will be able to realize that even ignorance is not bliss. So we have to continue to do the karma yoga. So this is the last stage we have to get there. We can't go to the last stage from the very beginning then.
Yes.
Perfect. Absolutely.
That's all.
Thank you very much. So I will close the session with the Shanti mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaya Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhagavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are closing the session. We'll be back again on the Sunday on the 25th of July, sharp at 6:15 in the morning. So till then, say bid adieu, goodbye. Enjoy the blessed Wednesday. Today is perhaps the holiday everywhere. Enjoy the holiday, and we'll be back again. Take care of all of yourself. Thank you for joining us today. With all your due permission, I am closing the session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.